BPod Studios.
It's the all-new way for you to wake up. Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Fred, hello. Hello. Human feces, urine, and debris. Ta-da. Hello. Yes. Hello. Jackpot. Hello. Hello.
I'm John Wallach on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Hello.
How do you like that?
Hello. Welcome to the show. How humiliating. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. We are Toucher and Hardy, and this hour on the Sports Hub is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We're in the Town Fair Tire Studios. You can watch us on Twitch at twitch.tv or the Twitch app, 617-779-0985. And if you're just getting up and you were expecting lots of snow, that's not happening, apparently. And it is interesting. I guess north of 90, it's going to be like 3 inches, and it won't start until 8. So if your work is already canceled, as many have.
What's 90?
The Mass Pike.
Oh. I didn't know it was 90.
Some of us are local yokels. You understand what I'm saying?
Not if you're calling it 90.
Do you see what I did? That's what they were calling it on TV, 90.
No.
They call it the Mass Pike, right?
No, Sherry Spear was calling it 90.
Well, then she must be from...
She's on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Exposed.
Well,
Interloper.
I'm on Team Spear, and if you are not on Team Spear, then you are on the outside looking in. Because I went to Fox 25 television while I was brushing my teeth today.
Nice.
And she said south of 90, and then I felt like a local yokel. So I said south of 90, and you're no more from here than I am, Hardy, and John's an idiot.
I see.
So I stick by
Nobody calls it 90. It's
no
the
one
Mass
calls
Pike.
it 90. Everyone calls it the Mass Pike, idiot or not.
All right, Dan, pull up. Well, first of all, F you. You call it Route 1 and everything
128 is the answer you're looking for. You don't like that I call 128 128. You insist on calling it 95.
Pull up Sherry Spear in Fox 25's newscast, especially given WBZ's insolence this morning. Pull up shock.
Will not tolerate your insolence.
Yes, their insolence. Whatever that guy's name is no good.
I was just waiting. I was waiting for the first person to say it to me because normally, back in the day, it would have been Zoe who would have said something last night and again this morning. He loves nothing more than to point out other people's faults, shortcomanness.
Really?
And he readily admits it all comes from a place of insecurity, right?
Okay.
But he loves pointing out, just like his master and savior Bill Belichick, when meteorologists get the forecast wrong. Oh, they really blew this. Oh, they really did this. And I'm like, I just take a deep breath and like, yes, they did not get this one right. And I was wondering who was going to say it to me, first this morning, who I was going to hear it from. And it was Melissa from the
Hot.
Hot, yes. Again, to borrow from a Scott Zolak-ism, the Baby Beatnuts show down the hall there. Whatever their
right.
their
Okay.
hippity hop morning show is called. I don't know
what he called it.
I don't know.
The hippity hop morning show.
He called it Baby Beatnuts.
That's
I don't know.
Who calls it that?
So, the Baby Beatnuts morning show.
best.
But Melissa, as we're both walking in this morning, says like, oh, they really got this one wrong. They really screwed up. I said, yeah, they don't have hard jobs like we do. We just show up and talk for a few hours. All they have to do is predict the freaking future. That's all they're required to do in their jobs is somehow, and 9 times out of 10, they are correct. It's going to be colder tomorrow, and it is. It's going to rain this weekend, and it does. Stuff like that. But when they misfork, and by the way, They haven't misforecasted. They changed the forecast last night. So they're not
misforecasting would be if it just didn't snow and they had said it was 8 inches.
Right.
But Hardy, in fairness, they're reading computers. I mean, it's not like they're doing the math and like driving out and tracking the barometric pressure. I mean, and first of all, no one here in this room complained about. I mean, John calls them weather idiots. That's where he puts his foot down. But you've also read his email address.
Well, he's a
fan of horrible humor.
But he also he also just knows instinctively, when to flee the northern territories and head south. And he's got instinct on his.
Well, I mean, he does. I mean, and I knew it wasn't going to be bad when he was not south of 90. Do we have Sherry Spear? Do we have Sherry Spear? No, I don't want her live. I want the Sherry Spear on the Fox 25.
Yes, we're trying to record it.
No, you don't have to record it, jackass. Go to fox25.com, and her thing is on. It's the first thing that comes up. Just click on it. I'll do it. It's not bad. It's not a big deal.
Do it on your phone and hold it up to the microphone.
That's all right.
No, you could.
I just want evidence of someone saying. Saying the thing.
And you're right. They are going off of computer models, but the computers were not programmed by AI.
Yeah, but they weren't programmed by the weather people either. I mean, they were just, all right, he's got it. Here we go. But now watch, you won't say it, and I'll be the idiot.
We're looking at about 1 to 3, Route 2 to the Mass Pike, 3 to 6 south of the Pike, and then jackpot
south of the Pike.
My bad.
Yeah.
Eastern Massachusetts.
Yeah.
All right, I was wrong.
You were right. 90 the whole way.
About 1 to 3, Route 2 to the Mass Pike, 3 to 6 south of the Pike, and then jackpot areas about 6 to 9 for parts of southeastern Massachusetts.
I'm a national guy.
And it's 128, not 95.
Oh, so wait a second. You're puffing yourself up as a local yokel a few minutes ago. Now
could not be more out of town than you are.
Like the forecast, you're changing. Now you're a national guy. You should syndicate, Fred.
That's right. The computer models were wrong.
Why didn't you?
I heard there's money in them there in New Hampshire hills. I hear that you can just about break even if you spread out the message enough. And then you can make it act like it's a really hard job to do.
Eric Fisher was Dan tipped me to this. He said that they were starting to clap back at people because, again, Fisher tweets out 10:47 p.m. last night. Southeastern Mass is the winner this time around with the best chance of significant snowfall and power outage potential. Cape Cod, and then he shows the snow maps where in Boston 2 to 4 inches. And then once you get south of like the split down there, it's 4 to 8, getting closer to Mansfield and down toward Rhode Island. Okay, fine. First person. Eric, I respect you and your work, but why do you guys need to overhype storms days out? You guys really missed. And he said, yes, the forecast shifted from the weekend. That can and sometimes does happen. Why'd you guys change? I said it to Alk this morning, too. I said, they didn't change. You know what changed? God decided not as much snow here.
It is.
I changed my mind, and they called it last night.
It's a little radical to have a blizzard warning up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then have it be 4 inches at 4 o'clock.
Regardless of any of that, what is interesting is this, and this is truly interesting, and you can't debate it because unlike I proved when I was wrong, but this cannot be debated. Is that your kids' schools are canceled. My son's private school is canceled. Newton Public Schools had the 2.5 week strike. Their school has not been canceled. That proves that these schools deliberately just jumped the gun because it's easier and that they could have school if they wanted to. And that they could ride it out and they could see because Newton School said, we'll let you know at 5 a.m. because of what's going on. And they were like, well, listen, we can't cancel it right now. Milo's school is a private school, and they said, look, we're canceling school. Even if it doesn't snow, it's just a good day. The trimester's ending. Like, let everyone catch up on work.
Yeah.
Let the kids catch up on work, which I found its honesty refreshing. But your guys' school districts canceled schools where they didn't have to because they could have waited.
Early. They could have really, like 3 o'clock in the afternoon early.
Yeah, and they did it. Because it's just the easier thing to do. That's not in the best interest of the children. They did that because it's the easier thing to do.
Well, okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of like history here, or just my personal history with this, okay? Because this used to drive me nuts too. Whether my kids were real little and daycare would close, like, now what? Or schools would close way early. I'm like, can't you wait until the morning? And, it's fine. We can change on a dime if need be. But why don't you actually wait and see what happens? I firmly believe this, Fred. It's a two-tiered thing happening. Number one, years ago, as one of these storms, Boston Public Schools did not cancel when there was snow forecasted in the afternoon. And it ended up being an absolute nightmare getting from downtown down the Riverway, the Jamaica Way, trying to get out of the city because there was like one of these 2 inches per hour snowstorms that started at noon, and kids were stuck on buses for hours, right? And people were flipping out, and they couldn't get home, and everybody was stuck. And I think this is what this storm was tracking to be. Something that started later that was going to mess up the afternoon commute, and kids were going to be stuck.
No.
Now, this is...
That's not how the storm was. The storm was supposed to start at 5 a.m.
And it changed the first time yesterday. Before that, no, before
but
the
you don't have to make the decision until 5 in the morning.
I agree with that part. I think they still should have waited. But it shifted to 8 a.m. before the big shift last night. So that had already changed. They said it was going to be bad starting around 10, 11 a.m., and that it was going to get 1 to 2 inches per hour for the next several hours. Okay, fine, whatever. But the other thing is, Boston now is super, super careful about this because they've been effed a couple of times. And when you're trying to get buses through the city streets in Boston, a lot of one-ways, a lot of streets that are two-way become de facto one-ways once they plow, and you can only go one way. It's a big mess. And too many schools around here go off of what BPS does. So they wait, and if BPS makes the call and Boston Public Schools close, then a bunch of surrounding communities also close.
Because it's the easiest thing to do, and they figure that we have the built-in days, so we might as well take them, and that's what they do. And if they truly wanted to have school, they would wait until 5 in the morning, because nothing you said changed my opinion. If they canceled school at 5 in the morning, and then the forecast said, hey, at 5 in the morning, it's going to snow a lot at noon, and then it didn't snow at noon, I go, all right, well, that was the forecast at 5 in the morning. The problem, and so you can't judge them because you canceled it based on the information you had before school started. But the idea that they canceled at 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday is completely unnecessary and holds no ground in one-way streets in Boston or anything else.
Yes, it does, because you said, it's just lazy and easier. It is lazy and easier. The genesis of this, the very start of it is BPS.
That didn't change anything I just said. You could have canceled school at 5 in the morning. If at that point it didn't snow, I wouldn't blame the schools. You don't understand what I'm saying.
I think BPS is a bigger animal. I don't think...
Fine, then Boston's different. I'm talking about... Then it's even lazier.
Well,
than the surrounding community.
It's lazy for the surrounding communities,
fine,
yes.
But I'm not talking about Boston. I'm talking about Natick, Canton, in Newton.
Are you talking south of 90 or north of 90?
All right, well, bring it back to a mistake I admitted to earlier to save face. That just makes you look like the weaker man. All right, what's coming? Yes. What's coming? All right.
It was funny.
All right, very good.
Good.
Very good. All right, what's coming up in about last night? What are we doing?
So much happened last night. Oh, my God. The Bean Pot, 2 games. Yeah, the consolation game and the championship game.
I just left after the consolation game.
Yeah, well.
Once I knew who came in third, I was very excited.
A big night for Victor Wembanyama, doing something that hadn't been done, I thought, in a really long time. Turns out it was only a few years. But he is impressive. And we'll also find out what's going on with both Andy Reid and your favorite, Fred, Grant Williams.
You know, people are incredulous about the Super Bowl. My whole way in, incredulous.
About what?
The decision to take the ball.
Oh.
Then there was a backlash on that. If the San Francisco 49ers knew the rules, were they prepared? There's a whole lot of discourse going on, negative and positive.
Comes down to coaching, Fred.
It comes down to preparedness. Mm-hmm. Which team was prepared? All right, we will be...
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
One has no idea he's awake.
And it's not much of a surprise.
The other is just realizing what it takes to get up at 4:30.
Do I need to be here?
It's Toucher and Hardy.
Shows you how together this whole operation is.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Did you catch the game last night?
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. What happened last night is brought to you by Jackpocket. Download the app now and use code HUB to get your first lottery ticket free. And like I was saying before the break, south of 90, we were all hanging out. And I was a lot of debate over a lot of yelling. It's a three-pronged yelling attack on the Super Bowl. A was the lack of preparedness by Kyle Shanahan's team because two of the players came out, the fullback and Armstead came out after the game and said they were unaware of the overtime rules.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Very good. That needed to be said.
Okay.
So those. Everyone knows the fullback of the 49ers.
I figured you didn't. That's why you said it.
I was impressed.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is a two-pronged attack against me, and so they came out and they said that they didn't know the overtime rules, and so now coaches. Former coaches like Herm Edwards are saying that they threw Shanahan under the bus, that what goes on in the locker room stays in the locker room, and that they threw Shanahan under the bus. There's this narrative now that Shanahan did not know the rules based on what he said right after the game. There's absolutely no chance that Shanahan didn't know the playoff overtime rules. That's ridiculous. But And then there's the argument that they didn't take the football. Now, I agree, and it didn't work out. I agree that they shouldn't have taken the football. There's the argument against that they took the football in overtime. Now, the argument that they took the football, they should have kicked it, and it gives you an extra down. In that, if you kick it and you know that either Kansas City got nothing, they got a field goal, or they got a touchdown, that gives you an extra down, in that you would go for it on fourth down when you normally would punt. But what Shanahan said you can't really argue with if it's his logic. Now, it didn't work out, and it was the wrong decision based on this game and what happened, and you can argue with the analytics of it. I guess the analytic community is split. There's no real feeling on this, which is odd because I thought that's the whole point of analytics, is that you would have a concrete mathematical answer to all these questions.
Is there a number that tells you?
Exactly.
There should be a number there.
According to Barnwell, there is the analytics community is kind of wavery on it. But his argument is like, look, once both teams possess the ball, it's a sudden death, and we wanted the ball the third time, which makes sense because in a world that you want the ball the third time because that's sudden death, and then you kick a field goal and the game's over. You have a field goal kicker just kick 2 50-plus yard field goals in that game, you'd want the ball. So every other argument is that was Shanahan's logic, and I mean that was his logic, and if that was his logic, that's what they did, and it kind of makes sense. But then Kansas City's saying that we were prepared. We've been talking about it since training camp, because we knew we were going to be in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs, and that Andy Reid has us prepared. And not only would we have kicked, but we would have then gone for 2. But I don't know if that's any less risky than
going for 2.
Going for 2 is more risky, right?
Yeah.
So like. All I know is that it doesn't seem like Shanahan completely crapped himself. Now that I've had 24 hours to think about it, his argument, I guess, is it was wrong in that given situation, but his argument is not completely wrong. Go ahead.
Why couldn't he have just presented it this way? So we wanted the ball first. We wanted to put pressure on Kansas City. I know that's Patrick Mahomes over there, but I trust my defense. My defense was pretty damn good during the regular season. It wasn't like Kansas City scored 40 points on us. I trusted that we would go down and score, and my defense would be able to hold them.
Because that's not why he did it. The reason he did it, I think, is even more sound. It was completely strategic. It was that we want the ball third because then it's sudden death. If all things are equal after the first two possessions, we want the ball. Because, like, say in college football, you know how they each get the ball to 30 or whatever the hell it is?
Yeah.
And you, like, after the first possessions of that, you know how you still get the ball back regardless? Like, you keep going back and forth?
Yeah.
But if it was only, like, a one-possession-a-team game, everyone would defer. Or everyone would take it first.
Yes.
Everyone would take it first because you would want the ball and over, like, sudden death. That's the kind of the way I looked at it, if that makes any sense, is that's his logic makes sense. Now it was wrong, but you can't. It's like the weather forecast, right? Like, you know, like that was his logic. That was what he was riding with. It kind of makes sense to me. So I was a lot more vigilant about it yesterday than I am today. Like, if that's the way, I believe the idea that Shanahan didn't know the playoff overtime rules is ludicrous. They're not the Super Bowl overtime rules. They're the playoff overtime rules. Shanahan's been in Super Bowls. He's been in the playoff. He knows the rules. There's no way he didn't. And they have an analytics team and 75 coaches. There's no way they were just standing on an island. Now, and I don't believe that. I'm not positive he didn't inform his team what they were doing. Those two morons just forgot about it. Like, in a sea of crap. How much do you think the players really look at? Out of all the coaching. Again, I love the story. We had Wes Welker in, and he was the receivers coach for the Texans or something. And we're like, what do you do for a living? He goes, it's the worst. He goes, I sit around all day printing out picture after picture of every play of the game, of every receiver in the game, and how they lined up and what happened. And then I print them out, and no one ever looks at them.
I can tell you from a basketball standpoint, when you get to the playoffs, you know, teams put together like binders of information on the other team. Players never look at that stuff. Maybe rookies do because it's the first time they've been through it. But veterans are like, I've seen this team 4 or 5 times. Just show me tendencies. I don't need to look at this binder full of material.
So this is also interesting. So if you're an ex-player saying, I can't believe Shanahan didn't tell them about this, you're like faking this take for the TV. Because you know, like you said, John, there's no way these football teams have 8,000 people working for them, preparing these just arsenals, these encyclopedias.
Thank you for this iPad that's tablet full of stuff. If you think I'm clicking on that icon after all of this time, I'm an 8-year vet. I've been an all-star 4 times. I'm not clicking on that.
Yeah, and Hardy sent us a video of Marshawn Lynch walking around a casino just telling 49er fans to F off. Do you think that he's reading like this attaché of like technical
Marshawn,
information?
we want you to study.
Yeah, like Marshawn, like, can you please sit down and study this? Like, you know, you get the ball and run, but, like, you're going to need to know every rule. And I don't understand. And they're like, well, you know, the 49ers would have played differently. No, they wouldn't have. They would not the coaches, but, like, the players being aware of it. How the hell is the defense going to play any different? Defense, what do you think they were like, oh, like, now we're comfortable, you know, it's ridiculous. So, I mean, I think that's forced naivete by or forced ignorance by the people that were that have played professional football, them feigning that somehow Shanahan, like, they never had the information.
Armstead and Juszczyk, the 2 guys you brought up, didn't click on the icon. It was the information was there. They just chose not to go study it.
And it's up to Shanahan, like, of all the things to just constantly drum into their heads, like a mantra.
Yeah,
the overtime rules. So I find this, I mean, it was the highest TV program ever. I you know, like, a lot of eyes are on it, and I understand it's the end of football season, so there's a lot less to talk about. But the killing of Shanahan seems a little unfair today.
Yeah, the idea of getting the ball third is interesting because it becomes sudden death. and it is the de facto old school overtime. Of course, you're taking the ball every single time unless it's a crazy outdoor game and field position somehow supersedes you actually taking the ball and going down and trying to score with it. But to me, this is where like the analytics thing, and we talked about it with, with the Lions and Campbell in the NFC Championship, and you talk about it a lot during the season. Like, what does your gut tell you in the moment? How's your offense playing? How's your defense playing? Who's on the other side? On the other sideline, what do they have to work with, and what is more likely, that you are going to somehow match what they do, or that you're going to maybe get lucky, for lack of a better word, which seems like an odd thing to say for a team that's in the Super Bowl, go down, score first, and then hold them. I still side with the decision to take the ball and try and do it that way. Try and go score first. And, yeah, it's Patrick Mahomes that's going to get the ball. But if you give Patrick Mahomes the ball first, there's something in that, I guess, in that calculus that says, well, maybe then they end up settling for a field goal. Well, what makes you think that Patrick Mahomes and that lunatic Travis Kelce, who are, you saw the way he was playing, like he had a lot on his mind. He had a lot to prove in that game. Like, they're going to go out there in overtime the first time they get the ball and settle for a field goal if you give them the ball first.
That's the other thing.
There's nothing in your gut. There's nothing in the mood of the game that makes you think that is going to happen.
There's that air of inevitability. It's like when San Francisco kicked a field goal, you knew Mahomes was going to go down the field and win the game. Same thing. If you give Mahomes the ball first, that guy scored a touchdown.
They're going down the field, and they're going to score a touchdown. More likely than not. So you should try and do it first. And maybe the bigger mistake was not treating it as the need to score a touchdown first. Now, I know they got themselves in a couple of, bad spots there early in overtime, and they were left with a field goal. And, yeah, I would have taken the points too. It's a long way of saying I think I would have done everything that Shanahan did. I really would.
Right. I wouldn't have, but I mean, he had his logic, and his logic seemed sound. It was wrong in that game, but his logic seemed sound. And so every argument that I could make for, kicking, for deferring, he would just counter with, yeah, but we wanted the ball third when it was, and then you're at a stalemate. And then he'd be like, yeah, in this game you were right, but if, situations were different and Kansas City had kicked a field goal to win the game, everyone would be killing me right now. All right. We will be back. We can get to everything that Hardy teased earlier. I was all filled to the brim with Super Bowl chicanery.
Yeah.
I was just feeling all good about my bowl. I'm a little sad that the bowl's over.
Yeah, now what? Yeah, how many days till football? How many days till OTAs? How many days till mandatory minicamp? Let's get the calendar going. Let's get the countdown.
I'm going to go on the road and see if I can get hit by a snowplow, get put in a nice coma. Maybe wake me up in August.
Hey, wake me up in week 1, you know what I'm saying?
I got to know before week 1.
Yeah,
I got to have my run up.
Preseason, baby.
I got to have my run up.
Preseason?
Yeah, preseason's for the birds, but I mean, they're part of my package.
Now, you're like in a great spot for this show, and I'm looking forward to it this year because you can get off the air at 10 and get down to Gillette by about 10:40, and you only miss about an hour of training camp. So you go every day, right?
Yeah, I got a new pair of binocs coming from binocs.com.
Now, are you a bleacher? Are you a bleacher guy, or are you a grassy knoll guy behind the goalposts?
That's where the VIPs sit on the slope there.
I don't know. I sit with the common man.
There you go.
I get my binoculars from binocs.com. Killers.com is no good. I go binocs. All right, we'll be back. Here are the headlines.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
office, in your car, in your footy pajamas, this is how Boston sports fans start their day.
I bet you're just jealous.
Toucher and Hardy on 98.5 The Sports Hub.
I want to love her. She's driving me bad. So
I think this is when they were trying to make John Cougar the next Bruce Springsteen. I mean, the intro of this song was it 2.5 minutes? Yeah. And they're trying to make him like this crazy orchestral thing. And I think when he was recording this record, the Eagles were in the studio at the same time. John Cougar told the story. It's like he goes down the hall, and the Eagles, whom I don't like, they're not a rock band. It's the most thing that drives me nuts about them. They have one song that is a rock song. The rest are just... But still, you can't deny that it's like they produced a really good-sounding record, and they were down the hall. And John Cougar says, like, you know, we're in there for, like, days getting the piano parts ready for the 2.5-minute intro of this song. It's like, it's not what I want to do. And then I walk down the hall, and the Eagles are recording Hotel California. I'm like, well, what are we doing? Yeah. Like, that's more what I want to be doing. Can't we just do that? No. Get back down there, and we're going to record. We're going to overdub guitars for the fourth straight day, John.
I've told you this story before, Fred. I don't know, Hardy. I don't know if you've heard it or not, but I remember watching a rerun of like American Bandstand, and they have John Cougar Mellencamp doing "Ain't Even Done with the Night," and he's surrounded by cheerleaders. You know, and he's out there performing, no band. He's just standing up there. And he's a kid, but it goes along with what you're talking about. They were trying to frame him in a certain way.
Johnny Cougar.
The way he turned out is the complete opposite of the way he started.
Originally billed as Lil Johnny Cougar.
Well, he's a little guy. With big hair. Now, he was recording when, before Hotel California was a record. He was recording.
He was in the studio while the Eagles were working on Hotel California.
So like 77?
I don't know what, Yeah. I Need a Lover is late 70s.
All right. Yeah. What happened last night is brought to you by Jackpocket. Download the app now and use code HUB to get your first lottery ticket free this hour of the Toucher and Hardy Show. Brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
1978 for I Need a Lover. All right, so I found a wonderfully AI-generated story on the Beanpot last night. First, I will tell you what happened in the consolation game, though.
The real affair.
Yeah, well, the BC Eagles took on the Harvard
Crimson.
BC Wallachs.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's see what happened. BC won. Okay, so there you go. 5-0. By the way, and it was Jan Korek in net for the 17-save shutout in his first collegiate start.
Yeah, because he's the
win over
middle
Harvard.
Goalie.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
No.
Dan O'Brien did.
Middle goalie?
What's his name?
Jan Brady.
Where's
Korek.
George Glass? You know?
What happened to Cousin Oliver? Did he have much of a career?
A serial murderer. Oliver. He was a jinx, and then he carried that over his head. Big fan of shallow graves.
Oliver Tyler. Cousin Oliver Tyler. Huh.
Yeah.
All right. So that was your consolation game. Congratulations to BC there. Now, in this wonderfully AI-generated story, I just want to read to you the headline in the first graph. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Northeastern Huskies beat in overtime Boston University. The teams were tied after 60 minutes, but overtime saw the Northeastern Huskies come away with a close win over Boston University at home on Monday.
All right. What is the outlet that has this?
Rink Live.
Okay, so Rink Live's now trash, garbage. And so when you're doing AI articles, how much could it cost to have John, you would probably know this. How much is it to get a guy to go out to like even high school games, but to go to the Beanpot and file a paragraph story about what happened in the game?
A kid? If you can get a college kid to do it for like $75 or less.
So isn't it all right? So say $75. Isn't it worth just $75 to make it so people will read it? because anyone who goes to that site's never going to go to that site again.
No.
It's obvious garbage. It's just AI. So for $75, you could have not alienated anyone. It's the same thing with radio. It's like you could just pay a kid $10 an hour to come in and be a live jock. It's better than just playing a computer.
But then you don't get analysis like this. The teams were tied after 60 minutes. The final score was 4-3. Northeastern's Gunnar Wolf Fontaine scored the game-winning goal. He did. It sounded like this.
Luke Tuck fires it on net. Rebound out in front. Justin Ritzkovian heading up the ice. Fontaine leaves it there. Tried to drop it for Ritzkovian. He gets it back. Fontaine shoots. He scores! Gunnar Wolf Fontaine in overtime for the second straight Monday.
Tom Caron on the call.
Yes.
Good.
You know who's broadcasting with him? Billy Jaffe.
Billy Jaffe, that's right.
Yeah, I thought Jaffman was the play-by-play. He's not, huh?
No.
Caron's the play-by-play. The Jaffman's just there to analyze.
That's correct.
Because the Jaffman was big college hockey stud.
Yeah.
Over there at Michigan. He went to prom as a freshman.
Jaffe just jumps in every once in a while. No, you got it all wrong. See, they were pinching there, and then they got caught along the boards. You don't even know what you're watching. Dan Roach took Gunnar Fontaine aside at the end and said, this.
Gunnar, this is becoming a habit for you.
Dan.
What was this one like?
Yeah,
you guys...
just smoking crack.
Gunnar, let me look at you. You're standing there, you're all sweaty. You're all happy. What's it like to be happy? Are you happy about the game-winning goal, Gunnar? Gunnar,
where are my leggings?
I like people who tune into the news to have a big smile. Gunnar, this is becoming a habit. Gunnar, no one knows about you.
This is becoming a habit for you.
What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? You're scoring hockey goals and you're wearing your hockey pants and you got your hockey gloves on and you're playing hockey for your college. Isn't that great? You like it? Isn't it fun?
What was this one like? You guys, had to work and work and work and you never stopped.
Yeah, obviously it was a lot of challenges throughout the whole game. We caused up a lot of easy goals for them, but it was just battle adversity, and I think we battled that all year, so it just shows that we can win any game.
Now, there you go. Congratulations to the...
Next stop, the Frozen Four.
That's right. The Northeastern Huskies. Back-to-back Beanpot winners there, Wallace.
That's correct. 5 and 6 years.
Someone sent me a email, and it was Dan Roach holding the bean pot before the game, and they said he takes his dad's ashes everywhere.
Oh, man.
It's funny to me that I've been doing that thing with Dan because, he's so happy, and then you bring up, like, his dad dying when he was old because it's, like, not happy. And then people are offended by it. A select number of people are offended by it. And you're like, you're going to die too. Like, it's just going to happen. No. Like, when someone dies when they're old, it would be weirder if they didn't. You see?
Yeah.
Like,
I think people are
you're 120, it's not like it was his kid.
You understand, though, people are hearing it for the first time, though. Might be a little put off by you needling Dan about the fact that his father is dead.
No, I think that you would be a simpleton and that didn't understand anything.
It's not typical morning radio fodder. Is all.
This ain't your typical. Right? This ain't your grandpa's morning show.
Well, you
just led me into it.
Promo, mouth
promo.
Isolate
that's the promo. That's the new intro to the show. All right, so we'll be back in just one moment.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Award-winning movies often have incredible soundtracks, and many of those have gone on to become country gold. We've picked our top 5 country songs that have been nominated for an Oscar. Text Oscar to 45911 to see if your favorite made the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Oscar to 45911 and we'll send the link straight to your phone.
It's the all-new Toucher and Hardy.
Whatever, man.
On 98.5 The Sports Hub.
Having fun. We're Toucher and Hardy. Hardy, what's going down?
Now the number one overall pick there, Victor Wembanyama, had a big night last night. Recorded his second triple-double, and the first that included blocks. Now, this is a bit of a rarity. It happened last night. We'll hear a highlight here as the Spurs took on the Toronto Raptors.
It looks like things at the waste management. It was more like wasted management.
You read it, and you said what people have been saying for years and passed it off as your own joke.
Yes, we're going to talk about golf here for a second while there's a basketball game going on.
Looks for Scotty B. And blocked from behind. That's his ninth.
Oh, my God. All right, ninth block shot. He ended up with 10 as
That's
the...
what Wallach likes when he's approaching his prey. He likes to get blocked with a behind. A nice big one. It's a long way to go. Go ahead.
Spurs got the 122-99 win.
There's a kid on my son's high school basketball team that's Wembanyama's age. So Wembanyama's like 19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that's strange?
Yes.
That's Wembanyama's just a boy.
Yep.
Yeah, seriously. I mean...
He just turned 20. Just
Whatever.
turned 20,
And
yeah.
he's, of course, going to change like body-wise and stuff, but it's like there's a chance he's still growing.
Oh, they're absolutely.
His bones may still be lengthening.
My son's 15. He grew like 4 inches this year. I'll tell you this, is that Wembanyama now can buy Hustlers legally, which is the whole campaign. If you've been in San Antonio recently, every ad is him walking into like a convenience store and picking up a shrink-wrapped 3-pack of old Hustlers that have been repackaged for sale, going up to the counter, and the guy's like, "Are you Victor Wembanyama?" And he goes, "Are you 18?" And Wembanyama goes, "Yes." And he goes, "Wembanyama can buy Hustlers."
Yes. What do you think a 3-pack of shrink-wrapped Hustlers would go for right now online?
Call my friend Jason Daniel Evans. Because we would go out and have cocktails, and there was a convenience store right across the street. There was a bodega right across the street. And we would walk in, and if there was a shrink-wrapped pack, a 3-pack, just any nudie mags, he'd pick it up and take it. He liked Hustlers. He liked, and even since the internet, he likes the tactile. He likes the tactile, glossy pages
Those people
of a nice Hustler.
Still have that Sunday Globe delivered. Same thing.
So every time I would go stay at his house, but when we didn't live in the same town, I would I associate going to the bathroom with just a stack of Hustlers in the bathroom. And then he would go off to work, and I would just be in his house all day with just me and the Hustlers. Yeah. And then he'd come home, and I'd be a very depressed individual because I just spent the day with Hustlers, which is not something you want to do. Hustlers are best kept at arm's length. If you get too deep into a Hustler, you're reading some stuff you don't want to read. It gets gross.
Here's one on Amazon: Hustler All Sex issue featuring Shyla Jennings. This was first on newsstands, January of 2009. $24.99.
It's for a used Hustler. Couldn't I just go to the woods and dig it up? Do they dig it up for you in the woods? Because everyone knows when you were growing up, you would go to the woods and there would be nudie magazines. I just think it's funny. That's never going to sell. Or do you think there's like someone from one of the big auction houses in there with a pipe going, scour the internet for Hustlers. We have a man in south of France that's interested in the complete collection of 85 Hustlers.
Here's the Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis issue from August of 1975.
When you said Clint, I got disinterested.
Very good condition, $144.99.
Wow.
Very good condition, meaning slightly used.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't mind this. This is a nudie mag that has been in existence for 30 years, and you can go put your hands on it. It's from a stranger.
I'm going to guess that your father or your parents did not get any periodicals like that at the house.
No,
Playboy,
no
Hustler.
Not one single thread of pornography ever in my house. It was the worst. Nope. Not anything. And I investigated top to bottom. Yeah. Every time there was a friend of mine would have a sleepover, and you would it would be like striking gold, even if it was just a Playboy, anything. Nothing more frustrating than if you want to get old school, than the 8mm porn that sometimes we would find in people's basement with no 8mm camera, and the whole night would be spent futilely looking for 8mm and like pulling the film out and like looking at the tiny ass squares, and it was like nothing to see.
Everyone always had one friend that had it, and again, like you, my house had not anything, had no porn at all, but we all went to Jay's house because Jay had the basement, Jay had the 8mm, Jay had the black box on top of the TV that unscrambled, the Playboy channel. Jay had it all. He had the smallest house out of all of us. We didn't care. We all go to
How's Jay
Jay's
doing
house.
Nowadays?
Jay's not well.
Okay,
he's not doing well at all.
You got to think that there's a downside with that.
Jay's run into some problems recently.
I told you the story that a girl, Lauren, that I was friends with, we were in elementary school in 5th grade, and she called me and she's like, my dad has like a porno.
Yeah.
And we walked like 5 miles, like at night to like her house. We walked 5 miles. It was like the Stephen King movie.
That's like Stand By Me.
Yeah. Like we were like,
that's an hour of walking to get there.
John, it might have been more than, I mean, it's,
a long
I remember
way,
it,
man.
Dude. I remember it. Like we walked like forever. Like
I know.
It was like across cities.
Had to stop and buy hamburger on the way and grill it over an open flame.
We walked from Farmington Hills to Birmingham. Like,
so you're walking up Telegraph Road.
We're walking up like past Telegraph Road. We walked up 13 Mile, past Telegraph and like all that. Like, yeah, Telegraph's basically Route 9. Like, walked across like the highway.
Jesus.
All right, no commercials here, just the headlines.